Let me ask you something honest right now. As you are sitting there, has your brain ever lied to you? Not like a dramatic lie. Not a big one. I am talking about the small, quiet kind. The kind where you sit down to study and your brain goes, actually, let me just check my phone real quick. Or you plan to wake up early. You set the alarm. You are committed. And then the alarm goes off and your brain says, no, 5 more minutes. You deserve this. Or you have an idea. A real, solid, genuinely good idea. And your brain whispers, but what if it doesn't work? What if people laugh? You know that voice. Everyone knows that voice. And here is what I want you to understand today. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is not caution. That voice is fear dressed up in logic. And if you listen to it your whole life, you will spend your whole life exactly where you are right now. This is the silent war that every single human being fights. Not the war against other people. Not the war against competition or bad luck or difficult circumstances. The real war. The one that determines everything is the war between your comfort and your growth. Between the part of you that wants ease and the part of you that knows you were built for more. Here is the truth. And I'm going to say it plainly, your brain was not designed for success. I know that sounds strange. People like to say, the brain is the most powerful computer in the universe. Sure, maybe. But powerful doesn't mean it is working for you. A car can be powerful and still drive you off a cliff if you are not steering it. Your brain was designed thousands of years ago. Not for building businesses, not for developing skills, not for pushing limits. It was designed to keep you alive. To conserve energy, to avoid risk, to stay safe. And back then, that was the right design. When you are running from a tiger, you don't stop to take notes. You run, you survive. The brain was perfect for that life. But that life is over. The tiger is gone. And yet your brain still behaves like it is there. Every time you face a difficult task, every time a challenge shows up, the brain sends the same old signal, danger, stop, rest, turn back. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a hard conversation. It doesn't know the difference between actual danger and the discomfort of learning something new. You sit down to work and your brain says, let's do the easy stuff first. You plan to wake up at 5 in the morning and your brain says, sleep is health. Sleep is important. Don't be extreme. You think about starting something, a channel, a business, a new habit, and your brain builds a list of 17 reasons why now is not the right time. And the tragic part, most people listen politely. Most people nod and say, you know what, the brain has a point. And they go back to the comfortable routine. They go back to the familiar. And years pass, and they look around and why they're still in the same place. Here is the question nobody wants to ask. Imagine if every time you felt tired, you stopped. Every time fear showed up. Every time something felt hard, you chose the easier option instead. Where would that leave you? Honestly. Not philosophically, practically. Where would that leave you? It would leave you stuck. It would leave you living maybe 30% of what you are actually capable of. It would leave you watching other people build things. You could have built lives, you could have lived, achieved things you told yourself you'd one day achieve. That is why this matters. That is why you have to learn, not just to work hard, but to work a natural instincts, to look at the uncomfortable thing and walk toward it anyway. To feel the resistance and interpret it not as a stop sign, but as a signal that you are moving in the right direction. Because here is the thing, the hard things, waking up early, staying consistent, going deep on focused work, choosing discipline over entertainment, facing the challenges you've been avoiding. Those aren't punishments. Those are the steps. Those are the actual steps between where you are and where you want to be. There is no secret route around them. There is no shortcut that skips them. Every person you admire went through them. Every result you want on the other side of them. When you master your mind, you master your life. That is not a motivational slogan. That is a practical reality. The person who can command their own brain, who can tell it, we're doing this today, regardless of how we feel, that person is unstoppable. No goal is too large. No timeline is too demanding. No challenge is too overwhelming. Because the tool they're using is fully under their control. But the person who is controlled by their brain, every morning is a negotiation. Every hard task is a debate. Every decision is subject to how they happen to feel that particular day. And feelings are not a reliable strategy for building anything. Your brain is the greatest tool you will ever own. But right now, for most people, the tool is running the person. The hammer is swinging the carpenter. And until you flip that, until you decide that you are in charge, and the brain follows your lead, you will always be working at a fraction of your actual capacity. So the question is not whether your brain resists. The question is what you do when it does. Section 2, the comfort zone, is a very comfortable prison. People talk about the comfort zone like it is obviously bad, like it is clearly the enemy, and everyone already knows this. But if that were true, more people would leave it. The reason so few people actually escape the comfort zone is because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like rest. It feels like home. That is the trick. That is the design flaw in human psychology that the comfort zone exploits perfectly. Let me paint the picture for you. Your brain wakes up every morning with one primary agenda: keep you safe and comfortable. That is it. That is the whole plan. Safety, familiarity, routine. If you wake up and stay in bed an extra hour, the brain feels satisfied. Mission accomplished. If you sit down to do difficult work and instead open a video, the brain rewards you with a little hit of pleasure. Well done, well done. If you avoid the difficult conversation, the hard skill, the challenging environment, the brain sends a wave of relief. See, that wasn't so bad. We made the right call. But here is the hidden cost that the brain never tells you about. It never shows you the invoice. It gives you the pleasure up front and hides the bill somewhere in your future. And the bill is called unreached potential. Shrinking opportunities, the slow, quiet fading of the person you could have become. Think about the first time you had to speak in front of people. A class, a meeting, a presentation, anything. What did your brain do? It panicked. It said, I can't do this. I'm going to embarrass myself. Something bad is about to happen. Your hands went cold. Your voice went shaky. Everything in your body was screaming, turn around. Go back. But if you went through with it, if you pushed through the discomfort, what happened on the other side? You survived. You felt stronger. The next time was a little easier. The time after that, easier still. And today, you can do something that once felt impossible without even thinking twice about it. That is not luck. That is the only path. Growth never ever comes from staying where it is easy. It only comes from going somewhere uncomfortable and choosing to stay there long enough to adapt. The comfort zone tricks you because it doesn't look like a prison. Prisons have bars. Prisons have guards. Prisons are obvious. The comfort zone looks like a couch. It looks like your favorite routine. It looks like the familiar life you've built around keeping things manageable. Nobody warns you about it because everyone around you is probably in their own version of the same place. But consider what happens over time. A person who avoids challenges for a year They don't lose 1 year, they lose the growth that was supposed to happen in that year, which affects the next year and the year after that. Think of someone who wakes up late every day, avoids the discipline of focused work, spends their evenings on entertainment instead of development. In month 6, it still looks fine on the surface, but slowly, quietly, the gap between them and the people they admire keeps growing. And one day, they look up and realize the opportunities didn't shrink, they did, because they chose day after day to stay comfortable. The comfort zone looks like rest. In reality, it is decay in slow motion. And your brain will never volunteer for the alternative. It will never wake you up one morning and say, you know what? Today, let's do something genuinely difficult. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's grow. That is never going to happen. Your brain's nature is survival. And survival says, do what worked yesterday. Conserve energy. Avoid the unknown. Success demands something your survival instinct was never designed to deliver. Success demands progress. And progress is, by definition, moving into territory you haven't been in before. Which means it will always feel uncomfortable. Which means your brain will always resist it. So if you want to become someone who achieves more than average, and you are watching the hustle philosophy because you do, then you have to stop treating your comfort zone as home. Start treating it as the competitor. It is the thing standing between you and every goal you've written down, every dream you've said out loud, every version of yourself you keep picturing. The comfort zone is not your friend. It is very comfortable, but so is a cage if you've never seen what is outside it. Section 3, why your brain fights you and how to fight back. Let's get practical. Why does the brain resist hard things? Why is it so committed, so almost aggressive about pulling you back toward ease? Because hard things cost energy. Because effort creates risk. Because discomfort, as far as the brain is concerned, is a type of threat. And the brain's entire ancient architecture was built around one mission: eliminate threats. That design was correct for the world. It was built in a world where physical danger was real and constant. A world where conserving energy was survival, not laziness. A world where the threats were animals and weather and starvation. In that world, the brain was a masterpiece. But the world changed, the threats changed. The brain didn't notice threats are invisible. They're not wild animals. They're distraction and procrastination. They're wasted potential and missed opportunities. They're the habit of choosing, scrolling over learning, entertainment over development, talk over action. These are the dangers that would genuinely damage your life. And the brain has no alarm system for any of them. In fact, it encourages them. It sends pleasure signals when you do exactly the things that are quietly destroying your future. So you have to do something. Your brain was not designed to do. Consciously override it. This is not optional. This is the work every successful person you've ever admired. They're not genetically different from you. They're not immune to the pull of comfort. They feel the same resistance you feel. The difference is they learned to override it and you haven't yet. Because here is what nobody teaches you clearly enough. You can literally reprogram your brain, not with surgery, not with medication, with repetition. Every time you choose the difficult thing when your brain says no, every single time, you are sending a signal. You are teaching your brain a new lesson. The lesson is difficulty is not. Difficulty is just what we do. And your brain, being the adaptive organ, starts to update slowly. The resistance weakens slowly. The hard thing starts to feel like less of a battle. Slowly, the discipline becomes identity. But this only works if you act first and argue later. Don't negotiate with your brain in the moment. Don't try to debate your way into motivation. The brain will always win that argument because it has been practicing longer and it knows all your weak points. The only answer is movement. When the brain says, not today, the answer is your feet on the floor, your hands on the task, your eyes on the work. Action first, feelings follow, not the other way around. Look at the pattern. Truly successful people, not the ones who got lucky once, but the ones who sustain performance over years. They wake up when it is easier to sleep. They do the important work when everything in them wants to procrastinate. They stay focused in environments built entirely to steal their attention. They don't do this because they feel amazing every day. They do it because they stop asking how they feel before they act. They trained their brain to follow commands, not moods. That training is available to everyone, including you. It just costs comfort. And most people aren't willing to pay that price, which is exactly why most people never build what they're capable of building. But here is the long view. Here is the perspective that matters. You are going to be old one day, and you are going to look back at your life. And in that moment, you will not be judged by some external authority. You will judge yourself with complete clarity, with no excuses available. And the question you face is simple. Did I do what I was capable of? Did I choose growth or did I choose comfortable? That future regret. It is born right now. In this moment, in every small choice between the hard thing and the easy thing. Every time you defeat the comfort zone today, you're writing a different story for that moment. Every time you give in, you are adding another page to a story you won't want to read. The path of ease keeps you exactly where you are. The path of difficulty carries you somewhere you've never been. Force your brain to do the hard things today. And tomorrow, the hard things become your strength. That is how you break out of a comfortable prison. That is the only door. Section 4. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the only freedom. Most people hear the word discipline and feel tired. Like someone just described a diet they don't want to follow. Like someone took the joy out of the room and replaced it with rules. I want to completely flip that understanding for you today, because the way most people see discipline is exactly backwards. Discipline is not the removal of freedom. Discipline is how freedom is built. Think about what life looks like without discipline. When your brain is in charge, fully, completely, without any override from your conscious self, what happens? You eat what feels good in the moment, not what is good for your health. You sleep when you feel like it, wake up when you feel like it, work only when you feel inspired. You avoid the difficult tasks until the last possible moment. You spend money on things that feel satisfying right now without thinking about what you need later. You make decisions based entirely on how you happen to feel at any given moment. And feelings, as we establish, are not a reliable strategy. Feelings change by the hour. Feelings respond to your mood, your hunger, your sleep quality. The last thing you watched, the last conversation you had. Building a life on feelings is like building a house on water. It moves every time something touches it. Discipline is the foundation. The solid ground, not because it feels good. Often it doesn't, at least at the start, but because it is consistent. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline asks what you committed to. And then it holds you to that regardless of how many excuses your brain assembles. Here's the thing about the brain that most people never appreciate. It responds to pattern, feed it the same input consistently enough, and it adapts. What starts as a struggle becomes a habit. What starts as a habit becomes identity. The brain is not fixed. It is trainable. And discipline is how you train it. Think of someone who has never exercised. The first day they go to the gym, it is war. Their body resists. Their mind produces 17 reasons to leave early. I am too tired. I'll hurt myself. This is embarrassing. I'll do more tomorrow. Every alarm bell is ringing, but they stay. And they come back the next day. And the next week, and after a few months, something changes. The brain stops fighting. It starts expecting the workout. It starts preparing for it. The person who used to drag themselves to the gym now feels wrong if they miss a day. That is not willpower. That is rewiring. That is what discipline does to the brain over time. The same process everywhere. Study consistently. And the brain adapts to learning. Write consistently. And the brain adapts to creative output. Show up to your work consistently. And the brain starts to treat work as normal, not as an obstacle. But here is the key insight about discipline that separates the people who build it from the people who only talk about it. Discipline does not require motivation. This is critical. Read that again. Motivation is weather. Some days it shows up, some days it doesn't. Some days you wake up fired up, energized, ready to take on everything. And some days, probably more days, you wake up flat, tired, uninspired, wondering why you thought any of this was a good idea. If you wait for motivation, you will make progress only on your good days. And your good days are not enough to build something great. Discipline shows up every day. Not because it feels good, but because you decided in advance that you don't renegotiate discipline in the moment. You set it when you are clear-headed, and you honor it when you are not. That consistency, that refusal to let the mood of the day decide the quality of your effort is what creates momentum that compounds into actual results. And here's what discipline does, that people don't talk about enough. It silences the excuses. Your brain is a master storyteller. When it doesn't want to do something, it doesn't just say, I don't want to. It builds a case. It finds evidence. It creates a narrative about why right now is not the right time. Why you need more preparation. Why this specific circumstance makes it different. It is actually impressive how quickly the brain can generate a sophisticated excuse. But discipline doesn't argue with the excuses. It moves past them. And every single time you move past an excuse, every time you act despite the story your brain told you, the excuses lose a little power. Because you've proven, again, that they don't control you. You've proven that the gap between what the brain says and what you actually do can be as large as you decide to make it. That is freedom. Not freedom from responsibility. Freedom from the tyranny of your own worst impulses. Now look around. The people who've built real things. Not the overnight story. Not the lucky break. But the people who've built something over years through consistent effort. They're usually not the most naturally talented. They're usually not the smartest person in the room. But they're almost always the most disciplined. Because talent without discipline is just potential that never went anywhere. And discipline without talents still gets you somewhere every single day, every single year, until the somewhere becomes extraordinary. There is one more thing discipline does that I think is undervalued. It changes who you believe you are.